watching all those Hollywood movies where AI is shown in a sinister fashion, right? AI is not going to be sinister at all. And then the lot of things have changed, and these things come over the cycles, right? For instance, a small story that I experienced as a kid. My dad was a career banker with SBI. And one day, he was, usually he goes to office on Sundays as well. So one day he was at home and I asked him what happened, and he said his staff is on strike. And I asked him, why is the staff on strike? He said, primarily the tellers are on strike because they're introducing automation in the bank. And those tellers felt that they will lose their jobs over a period of time. It's it's a different thing that all those tellers took the sponsorship from the bank to learn the computers, and they moved into the EDP department of the particular bank. So at that point of time, when they felt that they are going to lose the jobs, it's not actually has happened. So what has happened is they have reskilled themselves, and they have either gone into an EDP department in a bank, or they ended up taking up newer roles. For example, 15, 20 years ago in the banking industry, you didn't have a relationship manager, you didn't have a wealth manager, you did not have a loan officer, you did not have an underwriter. But today, if you look at that same banking industry, the kind of roles that have emerged are quite different. So what has helped these people to tide over the change process is their willingness to learn, which is basically in terms of unlearn, relearn, and then redeploy themselves. And that's exactly what is going to happen in the world of artificial intelligence. Today, we have a factory model of churning out engineers in India, which that factory model, the other countries also want to replicate it. While we using that factory model to churn out those engineers have to make a little bit of a course correction in terms of the kind of the tools that they become familiar with, right? Like Shrikant has mentioned earlier as well. The discipline of engineering has changed quite a bit, and so is the case when AI comes into the picture. Today, while AI is being used to generate a lot of content, 80% of it is unreliable and unbelievable. And I'll also give you an example. I recently engaged Gemini, which is Bard, erstwhile Bard, and then I asked Gemini to share 10 unknown facts about Anand Mahindra. And then it said the first entrepreneurial venture of Anand was to sell the photographs that he took as a kid. Right? And I sent it to Anand. I WhatsApped it to Anand and said, this is what Bard is going to say. He said, absolutely crazy. Right? So it is generating a lot of content which is not reliable as well. So it's gonna bring what I call as the trust deficit. Those things aside, the interesting things that it is going to do is, ability to convert a legacy code into a new age code. Many large companies in the world today still run on mainframes and the legacy code, right? They are absolutely scared to touch it. But now there is a prospect of using a generative AI algorithm and apply it to that legacy code and see how that legacy code can be generated into a new age code. So the course correction that these engineers or the professionals need to do is how to use those particular tools in a right sense, and what is the additional inventory of the skills that they need to acquire. And a good inventory of skill that they need to acquire, which is what we were taught in the school as well, is the spirit of inquiry. That's where the prompt engineering is going to come from. If you don't have a strong spirit of inquiry, you won't be able to come up with meaningful prompts. So it kind of ties down to some of the basics that we have learnt in the school, where our professors have kind of asked us to foster that skill of the spirit of inquiry, which is going to work very well in the world of artificial intelligence as well. So this is how it is going to shape up over a period of time.
Thank you. Thanks for that, Rajesh. And I still remember, बचपन से हमको बोला है सत्य की खोज करो, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
everybody, when we were growing up, they want us to do satya ki khoj. So prompt engineering and satya ki khoj, if you ask the right questions, you'll get the right answers. Okay. Next question to Raghu. Raghu, as representation of NASSCOM, you do work with a lot of startups as well. Mid-size, small, new age, deep tech, etc. What do you see as your experience of this entire, demand-supply paradox that we have for those startups, and what is it the necessary steps that are being taken to address that in your sphere?
See, on the challenges, if we see, first of all, thank you for having me here. If we see the industry challenges, if we take one step aside and see the last 6 years, the kind of disruption every sector has faced is unprecedented, starting with pandemic, followed by geopolitical stability, and followed by technology disruptions. So there are challenges on business along with the challenges on talent, right? Again, there are conventional challenges with talent in terms of skill gap, in terms of retention, and with pandemic, there is a widespread talent across the nation. Now, we see talent everywhere, which is a good problem to have. So the important point is what are the measures taken to overcome it, right? Whether it's as early stage startup, a mid-stage enterprise, or a large enterprise, the steps taken to overcome these challenges. So if we see a technology sector point of view, which is what I would like to share a couple of points, technology sector has been very pivotal, in the growth of the entire segment. Despite of several disruptions, tech sector has seen a positive growth, right, in the last couple of years. And as we stand today, it is $254 billion revenue generating segment with 5.4 million workforce, and with a strong, diverse, workforce of close to 36% women, right? And these challenges of diversified or spread over workforce have also given opportunity to reach various geographies. We see a lot of tier 2, tier 3 centers picking up in tapping large potential of talent, across these segments. So these and of course not the new block, the most prominent kid across the block, the Gen AI. In the recent survey, we see a lot of enterprises have committed their spend on building Gen AI capabilities. So it's a two-way street. One, of course, the academia coming forefront, building those partnerships with the relevant tech players to build the capacity to the students, and of course again industry also moving that hand to bring the practitioner's point of view to overcome these challenges, to build or reduce the skill gap, to bring solutions close to reality. So these are few aspects which we see is happening, and India leading the AI wave. I think with the inevitable India, as everyone speak, there is a large demand on with talent and technology are taking a center stage for every enterprise, as Mr. Rajesh said, to reimagine, to rewrite, to their entire growth pattern. So we see a lot of opportunities for the ecosystem, for the academia. It's more how these enabling initiatives will help them leverage the most out of it and reduce the skill gap.
Thank you. I like the word inevitable India. I like it. From incredible India to inevitable India. Wonderful. Thank you for that, Raghu. Ramesh, Dr. Ramesh, you have been leading this organization, I think last 2 years you mentioned. It's into product, it's into digital infrastructure for banking. As a product leader, this company and yourself, what's your experience, right? I mean, and you have a mix of a global presence outside India and India. What's your perspective on this entire scenario right now? Would love to hear from you.
Sure, thank you. I think it's probably the most pertinent topic of how do we manage the talent paradox, because whether it's a product company or a services or any other industry, without talent, I don't think it's going to move forward or there will be any progress, right? So, while many points have already been called out, first is my perspective being on both industry and academia side is that the temptation to have a very short-term view needs to go both from the industry side as well as the academia side. And Professor Desai called out that an industry looks at it from a quarter on quarter versus a few years. I think I was fortunate to experience both sides. And that temptation is very much there today. While we talk of wanting solutions from the industry, we want them to be quick fix, turnkey, very point in time, which is not always the right scenario. Similarly, academicians, I think Shrikant called this out, right? That the first conversation always is about, can you come over for campus placements, right? So, the moment the short-term view goes out, there is a possibility for a more meaningful conversation. That's my view. Second, both sides need to adopt a more supply chain type of a view, right? If you take an automobile industry, the supply chain is set up in a way that it's always for the long run. There are partner, dealer tie-ups, there are spare part tie-ups, there is a whole set of experts who are always associated with the spare part dealers or others. There are panels that are conducted, there is a huge amount of testing that's conducted before even a single nut or a bolt goes into a car, right? So I think that supply chain mindset needs to come in, whether it's a service company, product company, or any other industry, which will then automatically shift the view from a short term to a more medium term, long term. And thirdly, very important, well, there's a lot of talk of AI. I always call this out. One of my passion is to talk about emotional intelligence. The PI model that Shrikant called out, or the T model we had, I will put a foundational bar below, which is, call it the Roman letter 2 model or I model, is the NI, which is the natural intelligence. In all this buzz and noise that we are hearing about all of these, most students, unfortunately, maybe for no fault of theirs, are severely lacking, or they need desperate help on that, is how do we deal with this constant influx of information, and how do we build that natural intelligence, right? Make it stronger, the emotional intelligence. And our entire education system has been on who's got the best marks, who's going to the top institutes, who's scored the maximum. And we are all part of it. Let's admit it, we are all part of it, right? So, till that obsession with only top institutes, top marks, top percentages it's there. We will have this same dialogue again a few years down the line. If we really want solutions and this to work, we'll have to step away from that. I think those will be my 3 things. Focus on foundational aspects from a student side as well as industry side. And since I'm on both sides, I'm being blunt about it. Yeah.
Fantastic. And artificial intelligence versus natural intelligence is not the thing. It's AI plus NI. Fabulous. Nice. I'll use that in some of my panel discussions as well, Doctor. Thank you for that. Rajesh, coming back to you, right? AI disruption, it's just become synonymous. But I think this could also be the moment for our country. What do you see how we can all come together as a community, right? So that's what we're trying to do. But how can we do it? How can we really make it happen? Any prescriptive steps that you can suggest?
Yeah, in terms of the best prescription that one can give is based on the model that has worked for us in the past, right? When I was setting up a financial processing services company along with Raman way back 10, 12 years ago, at that point of time when I used to go to any bank or a financial institute, they used to give the example of a China Union Pay. And they used to say China Union Pay is the world leader in the financial processing, and China it exceeded India by a very, very wide margin from a digital payments perspective. And now if you look at, China is trailing far behind India from a digital payments. Recently there was also a WhatsApp forward that was showing a timeline how India has raised much ahead of China. So if we decipher in terms of what has happened, one, I'm not saying that we should bring in another demon exercise. That will be disastrous. So I'm not saying that you should bring in a demonetization experience. But what has happened is there was a clarion call from the Honorable Prime Minister and also the others saying that you should teach other people how to do digital payments, right? Today, now it's quite possible, I'm not trying to demean, but it's quite possible that a beggar on the street may teach other person how to accept a digital payment, right? They know how to start using the digital payment. So if you take that particular model, can we do the same thing like one teach and another person with regards to artificial intelligence? Can we replicate that particular model in terms of, first of all, what is AI? And here the focus is not on technology, the focus is on outcome. And one good example is Uber. If you tell your granny that Uber has cloud, Uber has robotic process automation, Uber has machine learning, she will throw the phone away, right? You're not going to tell her that. You're going to tell her that if you want to go from point A to point B in a safest and the cheapest manner, here is an app that will work for you. That is outcome and an experience led rather than focusing on the underlying technology. So is the case with AI, where you have to focus on what is the experience it is going to deliver and how it is going to make one's life a lot more simpler and easier. So if you bring that particular narrative forward and use some of the models that have helped us in the country and replicate it, then we will be far, far ahead when compared to others in the world of artificial intelligence. Whether it's artificial intelligence or natural intelligence, the idea is to make things better for an individual.
Yeah, exactly. And I do foresee that there is a requirement for AI for grandparents as a session too sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, AI for kids as well, right?
Yeah, of course.
In terms of, it's not only for grandparents. Maybe if you make the experience easier, it may turn the tables and the grandparent may be teaching it to the kid.
Wow, that would be interesting. Thank you. Thanks for that. Raghu, next question to you. We were discussing during our IAC meetings and as well, there are a lot of policy recommendations around fellowships, internships already with AICTE and other education bodies. But what could be done to make it really more meaningful, right? We had a couple of viewpoints in the morning session, but just to make it more programmatic, if you could share some of your viewpoints, and we will also try to incorporate that as part of this IAC policy framework. Yeah.
I'm sure you will put me in spot. So, see, my point of view is the policy is mainly enabler to provide the basic access to facility, to mentorship, to enhance the knowledge and experience. Let me share my, experience. When I've started my career, I've, worked for a manufacturing organization where the training period was 1 year. So we were told to have a 6 months, just the training across various departments to understand how the business functions. And then 6 months on the job for a specific department which we will work in to understand how the workflow and what needs to be done and how it works, so on and so forth. For the first 1 year, it doesn't make any sense because as a youngster, we always wanted to jump on, the live project which is in progress and be the star, take that, award and good grand money and so on and so forth. But at the end of the year, we realize the actual sense of, imparting the training. It's not just to directly enhance our tech and soft skills. It is also to embed the cultural fit into the organization to see if we can, have the same vision of what, business is taking. So these any initiative which will enable, of course, we have chief guest and Shrikant sir and all the panelists have impressed upon the practitioner's point of view to understand the application per se, to have the right solutions in place. So, and I was also, looking for one of the, reading one of the podcast where one of the leaders said, do not get fixated on what you want to do. Focus on, your fundamental aspect of what the problem is and how will you approach to do it, and take every opportunity it comes. This will lead you, in a right path. So I believe the stress upon the foundation of the problem skills, inculcating the cultural fit for with the enterprises. These things, will take along for any individual or also enterprises to have a long-term, strategy.
Oh, perfect. That's a very important point. And I think that leads to the question to you, Dr. Ramesh. Cultural fit, when you're hiring people, you cannot really make out in the first few interviews, 5 hours, how culturally fit this person will be to my organization. What are the basic tenets that you follow while hiring processes, right? What kind of mindset this person has? Anything that you can share, our students here will benefit a lot.
Yeah, great question on that, and very valid in how they get selected, as well as what we typically look at, especially in a product type of scenario, is that ability. We've talked so much about solving problems, right? If you extend that further, is there a bit of a design thinking mindset? We, of course, in 30 minutes, 1 hour, you can't find out all of it, but in the past, even if you're studying during your engineering days, what are some of the activities? I typically, for instance, look at beyond the academics. I believe IQ is there with everybody nowadays. Everybody has a very high level of IQ. What are some of the areas where this IQA has been applied? B, I talked of the emotional angle, right? Have you been able to take that mindset forward on addressing some very practical scenarios in your institute? Second thing is the dynamic aspect, right? Beyond the academics, have you also participated in various activities that are helping in the institution building? For instance, have you been on some committees? Have you been part of anything environment friendly, right? So where you can see that passion coming out of your what you have done there. The third thing I think is very clearly a can-do. We talk so much about it. There are no ready-made solutions in any place. Is that can-do spark or that attitude coming through in your actions so far, whether it's in your engineering or even outside? So if that ability, I think, matters a lot. In fact, in our current organization, it's one of our values, and that can do also brings out the sense of entrepreneurship, and it's not always waiting for direction. Culturally, unfortunately, India has been a bit of a direction taking scenario, and it used to hurt me when so many of my clients, and when I was on the consulting and services side, despite the best efforts, they would always point out that if you have a floor, everybody is waiting for instructions rather than standing up and saying something is wrong and this is how I'll solve it, or this is how we'll do it, why don't you listen to us? So that I don't, and even unfortunately our organizations don't encourage too much of that. That's a reality, right? So I think these 3-4 things as a combination are what we would broadly look at in a selection process, right?
यहाँ पे कोई क्वेश्चन पूछता है तो बोलता है अरे क्रांतिकारी आ गया. We don't want.
I call that out because it's not just the students. We as people who are interviewing them need a mindset change.
We do, and I think 25 years back we were getting interviewed, and we were talking like that, and now we want the other person to just tone down a little bit and work in a.
Just to add to what Ramesh has mentioned, all wonderful points, Ramesh. Only one thing that I wanted to mention is we seem to be living in a world where fake it till you make it seems to work, but when it comes to culture, faking it doesn't work. And it takes 2 minutes, less than 2 minutes for an experienced person to figure out whether you're faking it or you're really saying it. So for God's sake, don't ever follow that practice of faking it.
Brilliant point. Thank you for that. And I don't have any questions to you guys, but I just want, for the sake of the initiative, for the industry academic connect, 30 seconds, each one of you, what is the commitment that you guys can make? And I'll start with Dr. Ramesh.
Sure.
For taking this initiative forward. And this is getting recorded.
Yeah. After this, I'm going to get this tattooed on myself as well. So, so my commitment clearly is, I've shared this with both Manish and Pankaj already, is that I'll be there to share my experiences. And I clearly told him I don't want it to be a one-off sharing, would like to be associated probably with the full batch for a longer time. And quite frankly, I'm done with turnkey solutions and quick fixes, right? So that's my commitment.
Oh, thank you. We have already counted you in. We sort of volunteered you already for that. So thank you. And Ramesh, I think there's lots to do together. There is, I see not just through the organization that you're working with, but in your personal capacity. I think even if we can influence the students a wee bit with the learning that you have, that would be immense for them.
Sure. And I'll be more than happy. One last statement that applies to both all of us is, personally, I keep reminding myself, is this will need a lot of patience and perseverance. I hope that's something that we are all, FTCCI especially with as this, the institute that's bringing everybody together and talent farm, while we'll commit, it'll need a lot of patience to get the required outcomes, right? So Pankaj, I'm only looking at you here.
No,
So, thank you. Thanks again for that.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Ramesh. Good point. Raghu?
I'm already part of this ICT, so please don't ask me any more commitment. I am already committed. See, from NASCOM standpoint, we are always with, we support these initiatives which are the enablers for the industry, academia, and all the stakeholders. We are committed to work along with industry and academia to make it happen, make it, a large success. And yeah, I am with Srikanth sir. If given a choice, even I want to be part of this youth. At least I can tell I am part of youth.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah, that's not the reality. Thank you. And Raghu, your massive network that you have on the other side, I think we will drill into that a lot as we go forward. Thank you for that.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Yes, to you.
Yeah, from my side, 2 points. One is in terms of, after so many accomplishments, I made one decision 18 months ago, which finally made my dad to say, "Nalayak se layak ban gaya." Because I decided to do PhD, which my dad did way back in 70s. He was one of the few PhDs in the world in grape culture, viticulture. Then it's a different thing that he went down the career path with a bank. So that was his cherished ambition to see his son with a doctorate degree. So I finally decided to do, and that to juxtapose that to what Professor Saab said earlier, enlightened self-interest. So with given my PhD journey and my enlightened self-interest, being a professor of practice comes naturally because it's of my enlightened self-interest. So if you have to marry this both, I'm happy to contribute probably 8 to 10 hours in a month to the student community, which I am committing to do that.
Thank you. Thank you, Rajesh.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to My Startup TV.
We are marching towards the $10 trillion economy, and we have a large role to play. So I will not do the questions, but I will let them each speak their point of view. And the point is also about where do we get started. There are multiple initiatives. There is a lot of people coming together, wanting to commit their time, all the value add that they are ready to pour in. But then from each one, we would like to understand what is it that you would like to kind of pour in your views, and where should we get started and how do we get started?
There are a lot of points, and we've been discussing on this topic. I think this is one of the topics, like you said, 10 years or 20 years back also we were doing Academia Industry Connect, and we were talking about women empowerment and how do we bring them to forefront and things like that. Again, we are talking about it. I think this needs a mindset change as well. Like how we are talking about product mindset. this needs a mindset change big time in terms of how are we bringing up our kids, how are we bringing up our organization, how is faculty treating both girls and boys in the college. It goes everywhere. I think this needs a fundamental change of mindset from the start. How you start treating your girl versus boy, and we were talking about boys need A, B, C, D, you need car and all, and girls would ask for home toys and things like that, right? I think this, the mindset needs to change completely. And when it comes to industry style, and I'm not going to talk about all the points because there are a lot of points in my head running at this point in time, but the key things that probably we should look at is setting up a good ecosystem or the support system for women employees. Not looking at numbers saying, oh, we have crossed 30% in the diversity ratio in our organization, that's an achievement. I don't know why we call that as an achievement, because you should look at the talent pool. You should not look at the number and say, yes, there's a tick over here. So that's the second point. I am a single mother. I have a 2-year-old girl, and I totally understand the need of the support system at home, at work, and people recognizing that, you know, you need that time with your kid as well as you are committed to your work. So when you're at work, you're 100% at work. When you're home, you're 100% home. You need a very supportive staff, your supervisors, your peers, your reportees, and all. So that's why I said it needs a mindset change. I'll stop here and let's listen to other folks now.
Just to add, I think apart from, I think the usual tick boxes that are done in corporates, I've experienced this. I had number of leaders walking in, especially during the month of March, you know, when everyone wants to portray that they're the most ID'd company, if I should say, which counts inclusivity, diversity, and equity, and equality to a certain extent in terms of various aspects, but they start off with gender, right? It's very irritating to be on the other side where you hear the numbers. But I think while the bad news comes in data, the good news is always the efforts that also count with organizations and individuals who are trying to set up initiatives that could really help these numbers move up, and the initiatives that we all talk about hopefully help more people to come into the workforce and stay in the workforce, right? The problem is no more about coming into the workforce. It's actually staying back in the workforce, because we all know the attrition rates in terms of mid-careers that are happening with women at work forces, especially with COVID. I think COVID actually COVID with a hybrid work environment has actually given a lot of perks and flexibility that's never spoken of in corporates in general, the flexibility of ensuring you kind of work from home and work from anywhere in whichever part of the world, and can still manage your calendars, right? So I think that's really important for us to maybe look at as well, how you're, as allies, I think the most important thing I've realized while we were noticing the wall of fame on the outside, because the number of men that we saw there and literally no women, it's also in this room when you look at it, then I think I see most of you as allies for your own respective homes, your organizations, your teams that you're literally supporting, right? How many of you could go back and be a shoulder to lean on for your respective team member, for your organization, for picking up an initiative? It's very easy for a woman to pick up an initiative and say, hey, I'm trying to do something with respect to diversity. If you see, actually most of the diversity teams that are run in organizations and corporates are mostly run by women, especially right from cutting a cake at the desk to running organizational institutional activities around inclusion and diversity are run by women, where a few of them will be sponsored by men. I think we're speaking about a few genders here, couple of genders here, if I should say so, right? But I think it's time that we see the other side, or the other gender, also picking up more initiatives that could help. Build spaces, build communities that could help get a dialogue and a discussion together. Otherwise, I don't think this will just be solved by 10 Sheetals, 10 Vaishalis, 10 Avnishas on the panel, right? It's got to be a community effort in how we build capacity as we go. I think with respect to startups, corporates, technology coming at the intersection of all of this, how do we solve this? I remember entrepreneurs back in those days, and back in those days could be just a decade back as well, just a year back as well, if I should say so. We used to hear a lot of people pitch conversations on pickle, papad, petticoats, especially for women entrepreneurs. That was the usual spectrum of sectors that they were looking at. But I remember, I think the last quarter, or I think just before the New Year's, we heard pitches of platforms, programs, and products. And I think this is the best time to see if you'd want to be an entrepreneur, especially as a woman. There are enough programs, and on the academia side as well, there's enough push that's coming in through. Maybe it's time that we reimagine these institutions and how we all perform as individuals as well.
I'll start by, we talked about all the T's since the morning, all the S. We had the RRR panel. This is by far the most diverse panel. Right? So, and we know what the state is today, right? Everybody knows the data, the numbers that we've been talking about and everything. But I want to start by the happy picture, right? Who's the supreme commander of our armed forces today? Right? Our Honorable President, Shrimati Draupadi Murmu. I come from an organization where my business unit is led by a woman. The top leadership is majorly women in my organization. We have a very strong focus on DEI. Right? We have Karen, who's our Chief Equity and Innovation Officer, a CXO level position. Right? Why I'm saying all that is that in product organizations today there is a lot of focus on diversity. So this is a very good time to be a woman in tech or a woman in product. Last 4 or 5 years, our Honorable Prime Minister has put in a lot of focus on Nari Shakti. Now, that doesn't mean that everything goes away, what Rashi has alluded to or Vaishali was talking about. I'll give you an anecdote. Once taking an elevator in my office building, it so happened I was the only man in that elevator amongst the group of women. And that day was like, a realization for me, what does it feel to be sitting in a meeting room full of men, right? And especially, being very honest and transparent when some take pride in making off-color remarks and jokes, right? That respect has to be there in the work environment. That empathy has to be built in. Diversity is not just a gender diversity. Diversity is of diversity of thought, right? I don't want to generalize that all women think alike, all men think alike. But yes, there's a pattern. And when you have women on the table, there is a diversity of thought, right? So my message to all the women out there, this is a great time because a lot of companies are hiring for diversity. Go out there, right? We men have a lot to catch up on. We are not even 30%, 40% in the second occupation that the most women run, which is the household, right? So if we do our part, if we come to at least 50% and take that 50% responsibility of the households, right, that would go a long way in having women sustain their careers and reach the leadership positions in the organizations.
Absolutely, I think that's where we call ourselves super achievers.
Or I can maybe just quickly add, whenever I introduce how I am from AWS usually while we were on these speaking engagements was, I used to have a slide which I couldn't today. I just realized, imagine a taxi and a candy along, right? And I think this is every parent's nightmare. I remember number of times while we were, and this is also coming in place in terms of how technology is playing these days. I was always told whenever I was playing in my respective lanes of the colony, do not get into a stranger's car, do not accept a candy, do not take water, do not even talk to them, everything, that's coming that way, saying do not, right? And imagine a company like Uber literally building a business model based on that, where we tell them where we live, we accept a candy, we accept their experiences, we accept their water, we tell them where we are going, all these things that are really coming in place. So much so that we don't call taxis anymore, we call them Uber, Ola, we don't call banks anymore, we call them Paytms, we call them, mostly not theaters anymore, but we call Netflix, Hotstar, Prime taking over. And if you've experienced any of these technologies or applications and products, you've experienced AWS. That's how it always came to me, that technology has built a lot of trust that we cannot see. And I think with what Mr. Rajesh has mentioned with Uber, you can't explain this to as if, explain it to me as if I'm 5 or your grandmother. You can't explain the details behind all of this, right? But it's great to build that trust that this person that you don't know will take you from point A to point B and will also maybe give you a bottle of water. Just be nice to him. The least that you could do is be nice to him and maybe do a scanner at the end because they only accept cash these days. Or do a digital payment, ensure you have a quick knowledge of your scanner and then your OTP and everything else, right? So imagine how much of trust is being built with platforms like this. And all of these don't really have gender. And I think that's really important, to the point of diversity in thought. There's so much safety aspect that really came in, and people look at it from a women perspective as well, and how the number of initiatives that are really coming in the number of initiatives are being taken by these corporates as well to ensure there's enough trust that's being built between the consumer and the rider is also important, right? So I know there's still a lot more to do there, but we'll only realize the lot more to do when we have more women in the decision-making rooms, more women in the boardrooms who are making these feature designs or use cases, right? I think it's important maybe we all speak up in this room as well. There's nothing called a stupid or a silly question. We are expected to maybe do silly answers, but not on your side. No, I think it's interesting, right? I've done this in 2016, and it's just one of those best experiences because you also got to fundraise for your own expedition. So as a part of the group called 2041, along with this person called Robert Swan, who's the first person to walk both the South and North Pole. The idea is to learn more about climate change and come back to your respective city or the state that you belong to and become an ambassador for climate change. The best part is how you discover and how everything can just happen in a fraction of a second. The number of times I think I watch, every time I'm literally on my lowest of the lows, I go back and watch that video, right? Where there's an iceberg falling in just on the boat that we were on, and it could have been, I still remember my mom asking me if I had insurance while I was going there, right? So things like this can just really change the way on how the climate change is really not really spoken about. While the topic that we are on, I think the climate change and resource scarcity is not really being spoken about so much as we speak about technology and urbanization, right? So I think those topics also need some rooms and dialogues and discussions. I think that's where we wanted to build those communities. I came back and I was part of one of the teams that was doing Hyderabad Urban Makeover physical literacy days. We used to do Ragiri days and Happy Sundays towards the roads of ISB. If you know, the entire road was blocked so that we could do only physical activities and for families to come over and learn more about environment and what's it's really doing to you as an individual, as an organization. I remember we did car-free Thursdays. And I think I had a board as well that I carried to Antarctica where I wanted to talk about the initiative where all the IT employees were really picking up public transport on Thursdays and not really picking up their car and their respective vehicle. So there are quite a lot of initiatives that were coming in through through. While we were in the PPP sector of the world, which is public-private partnerships, we worked across with Cyberabad Commissionerate, Sajnar Garu and the team, so that we could build this, right? So it's important to understand how you could I think once you're really interested about a cause, there are always platforms that will give you the position to go back and talk about it. If there are no platforms, I think it's your bare minimum responsibility to go back and create them. And that's what I believe organizations or initiatives like this will do as well. But I think it's an interesting experience that I had. Now that you asked me about Antarctica, I've also realized there's another train journey that I've taken called Jagrati Yatra. I'm not sure how many of you know about it. It's a train journey that's built, it's a train that's only built for entrepreneurs to go. Happens every December. 500 entrepreneurs aspiring, someone who's been there, done that, is on the train along with 50 other set of mentors. The idea is you go back and meet. You go to 12 places across India, which we call the Middle India, covering Bombay to Bombay again. We go to meet Mr. Narayan Murthy in Infosys. We go back to Anshu Gupta in Delhi, Barefoot College, where they make grandmothers engineers, in Rajasthan and Thalonia. We come back to Bombay, right? So we go to these 12 places, and imagine being on the train every day morning. You go to these role models, come back in the night, sit down with your respective cohort which you're assigned to, live on the train for 15 days, and come back. Trust me, it was a life-changing experience for me. I think those experiences are many and many in India, because I've never experienced a tier 4 district. I've experienced a tier 3 district, tier 2 district, because my grandmothers are from a particular village. I went back during summer and I came back. But tier 4 district, where we still have women who use dry cloth, sand, dried leaves for their menstruation hygiene, is something that's still existing in India. For me, that was a big shocker, right? So you will, to the question of, I think, what Bharadwaj was asking, you don't have to, I think India, we have a lot of problems. We don't really have to ask for what's your problem or what's your latest problem, right? I think there are many and many problems as we go rural as well, not just urban. I think it's time that we maybe just, we don't have to romanticize the whole problem statement. I think it's time that we kind of build a business use case or understand how do we build a better solution across these problem statements. So for me, that was really a life-changing experience. And I hope whoever's inspired and aspiring entrepreneur, especially when you're a student, we've got enough platforms to do this. So,
fortunately, I'm blessed. I have parents who support me. I have about 24 years of experience now, and throughout my journey, they've been very supportive. So during the day, my mom becomes my daughter's mom, basically. She'll take care of her entire day. And in the evening, when I have a couple of hours, I am with her. So either it's my work or family. I am a very antisocial kind of person, so don't meet a lot of folks outside even on the weekends. So I'm able to manage, and knock on wood, it's all because of the support system I have. My supervisors, my peers, my office mates are very, very nice. And they all, we still have hybrid work culture. So I'm usually in office, but at least 3-4 days in a week I'm in office, and when I'm in office it's like 10 hours in the office. So I'm able to manage. So far so good. Probably when she gets older, I have to change my strategy a little bit. So I did change. I used to work probably 14-15 hours before she came into my life, and now it is 10 hours. And we'll see how it goes. Plus, I have a very good team, so I'm able to manage it well. I think it's just that you need that support. You need that ecosystem that supports you. Yeah, totally agree with that. Totally agree with that. I think we are in a very good era of deep tech, where all of us are always connected. And I think the deep tech, someone was saying, right, if I had an opportunity, I would have come to be born as a youth now. But I think this is the era when you have a lot of things that you can avail and benefit out of. So, yeah.
So, I want to just add another perspective to that. We're talking about women in tech. What about women in other vocations, in other sectors, right? We have maids coming in our houses for doing the dishes and the cleaning. Most of them women. I haven't seen any man come in and do the dishes so far. They have kids, they have families. I go to the Vijeta store, most of the staff is female. They have families, they have kids, right? You go to the malls, everywhere, you would see a much higher participation of females in workforce in these sectors, right? They are managing. I don't know how. I sometimes ask my maid, what about the kids? And then she says, yeah, they'll play there. And, someday she'll say that I want to take a day off because the kid is not well. So they also have this real problem. So we should not, I'm sorry to say, sit here and fantasize that all the problems are with us.
I think with that we will close the discussion, and thank you so much.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to MyStartupTV.
If we are to really become a multi-trillion-dollar opportunity, we have to become a product nation. Because if you look at the market cap of Apple, I think it's around $2.73 trillion. If you look at the market cap of Microsoft, it's about $3.25 trillion. So you just add Microsoft and Apple, and that's an aspiration for India in that sense, right? And why is that? Because we may have as many services companies, we may have as many startups, but unless we are going to create those world-class products, I don't think we are going to get there. And that is where we have TAS, T-Hub, T-Works, kind of entities which are partners of this initiative, which are all sitting together, brainstorming in terms of how do we do that. And to make product nation, we need product engineers. Right? And that is where all of you sitting here who are representing the students, I mean, there are of course 5,000 students who are going to join this pilot initiative phase 1, but about 20 of you are real representatives of those students. And I think this message is what has to go across the length and breadth of country, that we need to build more product engineers. And how do you build product engineers, right? There's a certain product mindset which is required. You don't, you don't get up one day morning and say, today I'm becoming a product engineer. There's a certain mindset which has to be created right from schooling, college, and grooming in the industry, right? And this picture is what I want some of you to retain with you. Everyone ultimately gets a job, and IT industry has been very kind in giving jobs to a lot of people. But the question that we really need to ask ourselves is, are we building bricklayers? Are we becoming bricklayers in the IT industry, or are we becoming the architects in IT industry? I think for last 20, 25 years or 30 years, for example, but today I think the young people have more confidence, they have more aspiration, and I think it's time to build on the foundation that our seniors and super seniors have laid, and really look at this as an opportunity for us, for India, to make those architects of the IT industry. Like in a building, you have the masons working and you have architects working. Essentially, both can go back home and say, we did a great job for that building. But you know the difference between a mason and an architect. The mason would just be following the instructions, putting things without knowing what he is doing. But the architect would have thought about it, would have designed about it. So I think that's where we have to get into that design thinking mode. That's where we have to get into that architect mode in terms of that thinking professional mode. How are we trying to do that? We are trying to do that by partnering with Talent Farm, and it's an AI-based platform where we are first of all bringing together a lot of industry problem statements. FTCCI is a rich body which has more than 5,000 direct members and 25,000 members. So from agri-tech to fintech to vaccine, pharma, healthcare, name an industry, and you have member companies of FTCCI. And we have now started working with these member companies to source problem statements, because I think I remember listening to Mukesh Ambani once, where he said that his professor in the university would grade them based on the problems they identified rather than the solutions. And I think in the world of ChatGPT, building a solution is probably become easy. But do you identify the right problem? Can you understand the problem domain? Can you articulate the problem? Or are we going to shoot in the dark? Are we going to build fantasies in our college labs? I think that's the difference that we have to look at. And that is where the emphasis in this initiative is going to be a lot on identifying problem statements, understanding problem statements, and articulating problem statements. That itself is probably the first step, and we underestimate that a lot. Right? We are all, as engineers, very excited about how to do things without getting into why do we need to do things or what do we need to do, right? And I think that's where the basics are going to be set right in this program, where we'll start with why, then go to what, and only then we'll get to how. So don't think too much about the algorithms that you want to use or the Raspberry Pi boards that you want to use. First, let's ask ourselves, is it a problem worth solving? Is it something worth giving it a try? So that's where I think a lot of emphasis is going to be on why. And one way of doing that is bringing together a lot of problem statements from various domains so that you get an opportunity to choose those problem statements, pick up the problem that you want to follow. Someone may have affinity to agriculture, someone may have affinity to healthcare, education, whatnot, right? The other important thing that we are trying to do in this is get a lot of mentors. So we're very fortunate, and quite a few of them are sitting here today. We have some of the best-in-class mentors, and these are not mentors who have just lent their name. These are mentors who are lending their time. These are mentors who are working with us, discussing with us, brainstorming with us, helping us build the product better, helping us build this initiative better. In the ICT team itself, you saw a wide range of people coming from all sections of the society, coming from very large MNCs like SAP, startups, organizations like T-Hub and NASCOM, all kinds of organizations. So it's really an initiative where people have got together, because all of us have been struggling with this problem for the last 20, 30 years. I remember sitting as a student in 1997, 96, and someone coming and talking about the gap between industry and academia. And unfortunately, after 24 years back, I am standing here and talking about the same thing. Nothing much has changed, right? And I think we've had enough of Lee's time to correct that, but now it's a question of survival. Now it's a question of survival. It's also a question of, are we going to let go this opportunity, or are we going to make the best use of this opportunity with so much disruption happening around us? So I think one of the very big key points about this initiative is the kind of mentors who are associated with it, who are going to validate, who are going to help you understand those problem statements. Not just technology mentors, but also domain experts. Because if you want to solve a problem in agriculture, you also need an agriculture specialist. If you want to solve a problem in healthcare, you also want a healthcare specialist. If you want to design a hardware product, you need the support of T-Works for designing and prototyping. If you want to start your own startup, you need the incubation at T-Hub, right? So that's how it's going to work together. Now, in a screenshot, if I were to quickly take 2 minutes to explain how the whole story goes, you see on the left side, you have all the actors who are there on the platform, be it the recruiters, mentors, service providers, students, of course, and then there's that smart AI buddy, which does all the magic. You have multiple stages where the student goes through profiling, ideation, learning, building, and then finally showcasing or demonstrating it. There's a problem catalog, learning resources, a lot of online lab infra, cloud-based labs have been created in AI, cloud-based labs have been created in blockchain, Web3, all these areas. And then of course, the AI buddy kind of monitors your progress and keeps giving insights so that corrections and interventions can be done right in time instead of crying over spilt milk later on. Right? The AI buddy also does a lot of recommendations, scheduling, and all that. And finally, as an outcome, you have a skill wallet, which is a verified blockchain-based wallet where your credentials are stored. You have an app store where you can showcase to the world what you have built so that you don't go with your resume. I mean, resume is a pass. You can't go in today's world and say, this is my bio data, right? You say, this is my portfolio. These are the applications I have built. This is my GitHub repository. This is my app showcase. Please have a look at it. And these are the mentors who have checked on me, who have given a industry assessment report so that it becomes a neutral report. And all these curated profiles, as you solve these problems, are shared with potential employees, of course based on your consent. If you think you don't want to share it, it's not going to be. But these are all shared with the industry recruiters or with the employees. This way it's a win-win situation because employers are also scrambling for talent. I keep telling this, you need only one job, but the company needs 100 people like you. So the problem is bigger on the other side. And when they get an opportunity to see curated profiles, when they know that the person is not just coming and writing on the resume, given an opportunity, I will do my best, right? Everyone tells the same thing, right? That's the standard resume line. But how do I believe in you? Why should I waste my time on you? Why should I even train you? Now, this is where a proof of concept, this is where data-backed, evidence-backed profile helps in the recruiter knowing, in the employer knowing exactly that these are your strengths. It's almost like you have worked with them and done a internship of 6 months with them. So I know every aspect of it. It's like how when a new team member joins me, over 6 months I get to know the strengths of the person, I get to know what are good and bad aspects of the person. That's exactly what happens here. So it becomes a huge opportunity as an internship for students to work on this. Thank you so much for this opportunity. We request your support. This is not an initiative of FTCCI. This is not an initiative of Talent Farm. This is an initiative which is going to be successful when all stakeholders work together. So I request the students, the academic fraternity, the industry mentors who are here, the partner organizations who are here to please come together and let's make it a reality. Thank you.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to MyStartupTV.
I would request K. Mohan Radu Garu to please come over on the stage and talk more about ICT committee and the initiatives that we are taking. Please.
As you see, FTCCI, earlier it was called FAPSI, Federation of AP Chambers of Commerce and Industry, before the state was bifurcated. Now, with the formation of Telangana, it's called FTCCI, Federation of Telangana Chambers of Commerce and Industry. As you have seen, it's a 107-year-old organization. It's a premier chambers in the country, one of the premier chambers in the country. To run this chambers, we have 22 committees. One of them is our ICT committee. 22 committees comprise of international, banking, taxation, like that. We have 22 committees. Among the 22, one is this ICT committee. We have some major events happening every year from the FTCCI as such. For example, FTCCI Excellence Awards and FTCCI HR Awards, FTCCI MSME Conclave, then Industrial Innovation and Technology Expo, and International Conference on Shipping and Logistics. These are the events, annual events that happen every year by the other committees. When it comes to the ICT committee, it's a excellent composition of the members. We have Dr. Uday Desai as one of our advisors, and Mr. Rajanna, P. Rajanna, the head of TCS. He is another advisor, and myself, the chair. As I told you, I'm the director at Informatics India. I'm in the field for over 40 years now, starting from the first generation computers. So then we have Bala Pedigari. He is a co-chairman. He is the Chief Innovation Officer at TCS. And we have Pankaj. He is the Director at Idea Labs. We have Sandeep Srivastava, Director at Microsoft. And then we have members from the top industries like SAP, Microsoft, TCS, Wipro, Infosys, like that. From all these companies, we have the members in this ICT committee. At ICT committee, we have three types of activities. One is ad hoc events that happen almost every month, one activity every month. And then we have annual events. Then we have sustained activity events. So sustained activities on the ChatGPT, like that, AI in sector-wise AI use cases, blockchain, digital transformation, like that. We keep doing events that on a regular basis. Then we have annual events. We have started an event called Impetus with HICIA, in collaboration with HICIA. That will be an annual event. And Impetus is a event that happens between FTCCI members and HICIA members, where HICIA members showcase their offerings, like IT offerings. Then the members of the FTCCI from the trade and industry, they come and take the demos, and then they go for it wherever it's required. That's the purpose of this Impetus. Then we have deep tech roundtable. See why Telangana is lagging behind in deep tech units. On that, we have taken an initiative and we have run a deep tech roundtable last year. And this year, next edition will happen soon. So these are some of the annual events. On the sustained basis, we have the MSME health card, where MSMEs, they have to be monitored and encouraged to comply in the technologies, the finance, HR, and compliance side. So all this, we are developing a forum with a application to monitor them and then grade them and give the health card system for MSMEs. That is one thing. Then we have the student industry interaction. Now this launch is happening now. And then we also have a activity for the startup and the industry interaction. Startups also need the right mentoring from the industry. Basically, the members of the FTCCI, they are the consumers of the technology and technological solutions. So the problem statement given by the industry people, that becomes more authentic for the startups to do the innovations. Otherwise, what happens, they do on a theoretical basis, and it may be accepted or may not be accepted by the industry. Whereas if it happens in the collaboration with FTC industry members, it will be more successful. That's the idea. So that's about the ICT committee. Thank you.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to MyStartupTV.
Hi, I think we had a great event today, the FTCCI Industry Academia Connect initiative. We had industry leaders from the academia and students all joining in and debating, discussing about how industry, academia and students can work together to ensure that on one end we help the students from getting great employability opportunities, and on the other side we can solve the talent challenge that industry faces. I'm very thankful to all the mentors, to the industry guests who came down, who shared their insights on this. We had leaders like Rajesh Dudu, we had Mr. Shrikant Sinha from Task, we had Avnish Bhatnagar from ServiceNow, we had Rashi Srivastav from Quintelli. I think it was a wonderful event. Thanks to Professor Uday Desai, who was the chief guest, and Mr. Jayesh Ranjan, Special Chief Secretary for IT, Industries and Commerce, who could not join in person but recorded a beautiful message encouraging us and motivating us to do this. I think this is a great initiative of FTCCI with its Industry Academia Connect, along with Talent Farm as an implementation partner. The idea is to bring industry problem statements, mentors, access to learning resources to students. And as students solve these problem statements, the curated profiles of the students is shared with potential employers. This will effectively create a win-win situation for students on one side to get great employability opportunities and for industry to get great curated talent. So all in all, it's a win-win situation. Thank you.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to MyStartupTV.
I would request Ms. P. Sangeeta, if you can come over and talk about and do a welcome note for on behalf of FTCCI leadership, please. Thank you.
I'm sure this platform will be an excellent platform for learning, networking, and lots of connects too. So on behalf of the Federation of Telangana Chamber of Commerce and Industry, I welcome you all to this Industry Academia Connect initiative. I welcome the chief guest for the event, Professor Uday Desai ji, guest of honor Shri Shrikant Sinha ji, and Shri Rajesh Dudu ji, other industry leaders from the academia, students and friends from the media. A warm welcome to all of you. Academics is so important in the Indian parampara. We have actually teacher is equal to guru and guru is equal to God. So this is actually a divine platform for all of you, I'm sure. So I would like to congratulate the ICT committee for taking up this initiative, which is the need of the hour to develop more and more employable candidates, and it's a big boon for the industry to have employable candidates. I would also like to assure the colleges and students of full support from FTCCI in terms of industry participation. Thank you. Have a great day.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to My Startup TV.
This is one of my personal soft initiatives since almost 20 years, where we want to work with the students and see what the industry folks can come together and share their experiences. We got a lovely platform with FTCCI to run this as a large initiative now, and we will bring this to all the colleges that we are working very closely with. In fact, in the next 3 to 6 months, we should be having at least 100 students doing full-time internship with at least 10 projects or 10 companies. That's our first milestone. And immediately, we would want to take this into 2 different aspects. One, where we want to do the nurture program, where we will engage about 100 women students. And the second is the accelerate program, where we will do a lot of large initiatives together. So thanks to FTCCI for allowing us to bring this initiative together. I want to thank all the colleges who have committed so far. We wish the rest of the colleges come soon. I also want to thank all the industry members around us who have come together and giving us all the strength to be part of this initiative. This will go a long way in creating a platform for nation building in a very small way that we people can organize. Thank you, and we will come back to you very soon with more updates on this. Thanks.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to My Startup TV.
This is a great event. Definitely, I think as some of the speakers were mentioned, that it was always like we always start the initiatives and do the MOUs kind of a thing. But this is going to be the next step of what they were, and now we wanted to kind of take it into the next level. I see a lot of synergy that has been there within the academic industry and the governments as well, and talent firm driving this whole initiative. Pankaj and his team has done a tremendous of work, and definitely whatever I see, typically like Pankaj kind of take it very seriously and kind of takes to the next level. That's exactly what everybody is kind of looking for. So I wish Talent Firm and this whole academic and industry connect a big success, and we're all part of it. I'm a mentor already, kind of delivering this at some of the colleges, whatever the knowledge that I have from the industry, and I'm happy to kind of do it more, and wish everyone a great success. Thank you.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to My Startup TV.
I think this is a fantastic forum where both industry and colleges get to meet and talk about how do we work together? How do we collaborate well? Talentform.ai has given a platform where the students and the industry mentors can connect, and we bring that the solutions for the problems that industry is looking for, people that the industry is looking for, and also get the talent ready for the industry, because there's a usual complaint that the talent is not ready, and the talent says that the industry is not picking them up. So I think there's definitely this need of coming together, and I see this as a great initiative of meeting both the objectives. Thank you so much for inviting me again. All the best.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to My Startup TV.
Today we are launching the program on IAC, Industry Academia Connect program. In this program, we enroll the colleges and universities as members, and we have also established collaborations with organizations such as T-Hub, Task, T-Works, etc. make the students employable in the industry. Also, we prepare them for innovations to engage them in the startup activities. So that's the idea of the IAC program. It has been launched today in FTCCI.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to My Startup TV.
Good afternoon. We are from Srinidhi Institute of Science and Technology. It was a great initiative set up. Through this, our colleges get a lot of exposure, and many of our startups, for our startups, it could be helpful.
This event helped us to network with a lot of different colleges, so which would be useful for our student startups to grow in the future.
We actually have a lot of prototypes in our college. Maybe with these industries coming into our college, it would help these prototypes set up to a next level. So yeah. Thank you for
giving this opportunity.
Thank you for giving us this opportunity and looking forward.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to My Startup TV.
The Industry Academia initiative is one of the need of the hour, much most important initiative in enhancing the skill set, reducing the skill gap for the talent in the ecosystem at large, which also which also builds the entrepreneur mindset. Very, very happy and delighted to be part of this ICT committee and also the part of the event. I wish FTCCI Talent Farm and the ICT a very grand success for this future event ahead.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to My Startup TV.
As part of the initiative Industry Academia Connect, we are looking forward to bridge the gap between academia and industry. And I think we are using a very innovative platform called Talent Farm. The idea is to basically bring all the use cases from the industry and enable students to work on those with best-in-class mentors from across the industry. We're looking forward to get started, 100 students to begin with, and we will be ramping this up across the state.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to My Startup TV.
I'm here in this FTCCI Talent Farm program, and this is one of the really very good and wonderful initiative, Talent Farm as well as FTCCI. This kind of industry connect along with the academics, and we have to bridge the gap that has been there for long, and definitely the way all these stakeholders are getting connected. I wish all these teams work together for a better tomorrow for Telangana and for India. Thank you.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to My Startup TV.
I think we had a great event today in terms of Industry Academia Connect program by FTCCI and powered by Talent Farm. We had some wonderful speakers in terms of Mr. Rajesh Dudu, Mr. Shrikant Sinha. We had our chief guest, Professor Uday Desai. We had a special address by Mr. Jayesh Ranjan. We spent a lot of time in emphasizing the need for industry and academia to work together and ensure that we create models which are effective.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to My Startup TV.
Which is basically the platform that's powering this initiative of IAC driven by FTTCI. We are happy to be part of this program, and we are looking forward to working with all the colleges and corporates to enable the children to achieve their potential. Talent Farm will play the role of enabling them to their potential. Thank you.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to MyStartupTV.
Today's Industry and Media Connect and Education Academia Connect was a wonderful event organized by FTCCI, ICT and Talent Farm, and I was happy to be a part of it. This is going to help the students grow in their careers for sure. Thank you.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to MyStartupTV.
Welcome to My Startup TV. I'm Major Sunil Shetty. We are at the India Joy Gaming Festival, one of the biggest festivals being held in Hyderabad. I have with me Mr. Jayesh Ranjan, who is the Principal Secretary, Industry and Commerce and IIT to the Government of Telangana. Sir, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you.
So this is one of the biggest events in Hyderabad, and somehow Hyderabad is attracting all kind of startup. What are your thoughts about it?
So this is a very important sector for us. While the focus today is on gaming, we had equal focus yesterday on VFX, the day before on animations. If you look at all these together, in Telangana we call this image. Animation, gaming, VFX, multimedia, AR, VR, etc. 9 years ago when the state of Telangana was formed, we started identifying what are the sectors where we can do well, we can become national role models, and we chose this as a priority sector. And amongst the many things that we do, we organize this event, India Joy, along with the local industry association which is called TWAGA. And I'm very happy that the 6th edition is going on. It has received so much of response. Industry stalwarts are there, international participants and delegates are there, and also large number of startups are getting a chance to show what they are up to and hopefully get more business, more funding, etc.
So from the government of Telangana, sir, are there any specific schemes that you're looking towards or helping with startups which is in the image or the gaming and VFX sector?
See, so one of the most important things and something which is very unique to Telangana is that 6 years ago, we created a dedicated innovation center for startups in animation, gaming, VFX, etc., which is called the Image Center of Excellence. This center is jointly promoted by Telangana government and a Government of India entity called STPI. And over the last 6 years, this center has also seen some very wonderful results. The cohorts which have completed year after year after year, many of them today have become very successful businesses. Many of them have created technologies which assist this sector. Many of them have gone into activities which benefit the social community, the larger community, the social good as it is called. So interesting work is happening, and I'm very confident that this focus on innovation, apart from infrastructure, apart from talent, is something which will continue to make Hyderabad as the most preferred go-to destination for this sector.
You talked about culture and information. What we also see the startup that we've spoken to, many of them are rooted their games into culture, heritage. Unlike where the PUBG of the world, where it's violence. What are your thoughts about it?
No, I agree. So, in fact, just now I was part of a panel discussion where one question which was raised was that typically gaming is seen as a very frivolous activity. If a child is seen to be playing a game, the instant reaction of parents should be, why is he not studying or why is he not playing outdoor, so that he gets either some physical benefit or some mental benefit. But there is a other flip side also, that suppose you teach our heritage, our culture. See, not many young children know anything about Ramayana, Mahabharata, about our history, about our culture. It is possible to gamify all that, create interest in the children. If you just teach them like a syllabus or a text in a school chapter, people will just not be
There's more engagement.
There's more engagement. So games are a very good way of engaging young generation. And in that panel discussion, when this question was asked, that should gaming be seen only as a frivolous activity, many such ideas were given, that you can contribute to great amount of learning and knowledge and continuation of our great cultural and historical legacy through this medium.
I know, sir, you have to go. Quickly, I just wanted you to give a message to all the gamers out there. What is your message through India Joy and the event image?
No, first of all, I'm very happy that so many of you have turned up to participate in this IGDC India Joy event on gaming, and continue to develop new games, be creative, be user friendly. Most importantly, don't lose sight of the social good that potentially you can do. And Hyderabad is a terrific center to do your work from here, develop your games, create the software, create the algorithms. So look up to all the facilities and infrastructure that you can get in Hyderabad and be a part of our journey. Thank you,
sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to MyStartupTV.
Welcome to MyStartupTV. I'm Major Sunil Shetty. We are at the India Joy Gaming Festival, one of the biggest festivals being held in Hyderabad. I have with me Mr. Jayesh Ranjan, who is the Principal Secretary, Industry and Commerce and IIT to the Government of Telangana. Sir, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you.
So this is one of the biggest events in Hyderabad, and somehow Hyderabad is attracting all kinds of startups. What are your thoughts about it?
So this is a very important sector for us. While the focus today is on gaming, we had equal focus yesterday on VFX, the day before on animation. So if you look at all these together, in Telangana we call this image: animation, gaming, VFX, multimedia, AR, VR, etc. 9 years ago, when the state of Telangana was formed, we started identifying what are the sectors where we can do well, we can become national role models, and we chose this as a priority sector. And amongst the many things that we do, we organize this event, India Joy, along with the local industry association, which is called TWAGA. And I'm very happy that the 6th edition is going on. It has received so much of response. Industry stalwarts are there, international participants and delegates are there, and also large number of startups are getting a chance to show what they are up to and hopefully get more business, more funding, etc.
So from the government of Telangana, sir, are there any specific schemes that you're looking towards or helping with startups which is in the image or the gaming and VFX sector?
See, so one of the most important things and something which is very unique to Telangana is that 6 years ago, we created a dedicated innovation center for startups in animation, gaming, VFX, etc., which is called the Image Center of Excellence. This center is jointly promoted by Telangana government and a Government of India entity called STPI. And over the last 6 years, this center has also seen some very wonderful results. The cohorts which have completed year after year after year, many of them today have become very successful businesses. Many of them have created technologies which assist this sector. Many of them have gone into activities which benefit the social community, the larger community, the social good as it is called. So interesting work is happening, and I'm very confident that this focus on innovation, apart from infrastructure, apart from talent, is something which will continue to make Hyderabad as the most preferred go-to destination for this sector.
You talked about culture and information. What we also see is the startup that we've spoken to, many of them are rooted their games into culture, heritage, unlike where, the PUBG of the world, where it's violence. What are your thoughts about it?
No, I agree. So, in fact, just now I was part of a panel discussion where one question which was raised was that typically gaming is seen as a very frivolous activity. If a child is seen to be playing a game, the instant reaction of parents should be, why is he not studying or why is he not playing outdoor, so that he gets either some physical benefit or some mental benefit. But there is a other flip side also, that suppose you teach our heritage, our culture. See, not many young children know anything about Ramayana, Mahabharata, about our history, about our culture. It is possible to gamify all that, create interest in the children. If you just teach them like a syllabus or a text in a school chapter, people will just not be.
There's more engagement.
There's more engagement. So games are a very good way of engaging young generation. And in that panel discussion, when this question was asked, that should gaming be seen only as a frivolous activity, many such ideas were given, that you can contribute to great amount of learning and knowledge and continuation of our great cultural and historical legacy through this medium.
I know, so you have to go. Quickly, I just wanted to give a message to all the gamers out there. What is your message through India Joy and the event image?
No, first of all, I'm very happy that so many of you have turned up to participate in this IGDC India Joy event on gaming, and continue to develop new games, be creative, be user friendly. Most importantly, don't lose sight of the social good that potentially you can do. And Hyderabad is a terrific center to do your work from here, develop your games, create the software, create the algorithms. So look up to all the facilities and infrastructure that you can get in Hyderabad and be a part of our journey. Thank you,
sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to My Startup TV.